Hello everybody, welcome back to the video, and today I'm going to be reviewing Scream 3, the final entry in the original Scream trilogy. Now, this had a complicated history of production, and honestly, I think there are better sources that you can get for that, so this is just going to be looking at the movie as a whole. I thought this one was really good. Now, of course, I do like funny stuff, but I mean, even then, there's a lot of people say that this is, the comedy is too much. I don't think the comedy is too much. I think it's a pretty good blend. You can tell it's a different writing style than the original 2 and 4, but it still fits in the story. The weirdest thing is the fact that Neve Campbell is off doing her own thing, but I mean, that makes sense. She had prior filming commitments. They couldn't get her in to do that much, so they had to roll with it. Also, I should mention that when I said the writing style is different, I meant that's because this is the first one that Kevin Williamson did not write. He wrote Scream 1, 2, and 4, but did not write 3. Again, that goes into the production history of the movie, so... But the guy that ultimately was the writer was a guy named Aaron Kruger. And yes, the guy named Kruger worked with Wes Craven. Anyway, so the plot of this one basically goes... Well, it starts off with Cotton Weary being the subject of the opening scene. Love this idea to have a past character be the opening kill. I think it makes a lot of sense, especially when you want to raise the stakes, which this was supposed to be the concluding chapter of the trilogy. So having Cotton, a character who had already been previously established, be the subject of the opening, a great way to raise the stakes right there. And he wasn't actually originally supposed to be the opening kill. They were originally going to have someone completely different. So I don't know why, but I think the idea of having a past character just is a fantastic idea. So, during the early part of the movie, Sidney Prescott is in isolation because she has the smart idea that a psycho, if they don't know where you are, they can't come after you, is basically her idea. It's a genius idea, actually, and maybe the smartest decision anyone makes in the Scream series. But at the same time, murders are going on in the set of the Stab 3 movie, a fictional installment in the series based off of the Ghost-faced killings. Anyway, Gale is called in to investigate, and I just gotta say, Courtney Cox is fantastic in all of these movies, even when it's just a cameo like it was in 6 pretty much. She's fantastic in all of these. And that's even more so here because she really gets to let her comedy chops fly. She's still funnier in this series than she is in Friends, as I said in past videos. But she gets a decent amount to do. She's paired up with Parker Posey, who plays Gale in Stab 3, which is kind of funny. It's funny to see the two of them interact. It's also made even funnier by who the technical advisor for Stab 3 is, Dewey. Yep, Dewey is the technical advisor for Stab 3, and honestly, I think that's just a funny decision and a natural way to get him involved in this. You don't need to spend too much time. Just say, oh yeah, they needed someone who had lived through it. Gale's busy doing her own thing. No one can find Sidney. Let's get Dewey. And then there's some great action sequences in this movie. The attack on Sarah Darling is pretty good. But I think the most memorable sequence for at least the first half is the rap party, which concludes with Jennifer Jolie, Parker Posey's character, her house getting blown up So that's a pretty memorable scene. And then throughout the whole thing, well, up until that point, at each attack, a different picture of Maureen Prescott is left at that crime scene. Which the idea, now Randy in his video clip said the past will come back to bite you. But it's a genius twist to have it be Sydney's mom's past and not Sydney's past. Because Sydney's past or Gail's past or even Dewey's past would be too obvious. So having it be the past of a character who has been mentioned in the previous two is a genius move. And I guess speaking of Randy's video clip, yeah, it does unfortunately mark the last, well, at the time, last appearance of Jamie Kennedy in the series. Apparently, he made a voice cameo in Scream 5. Yeah, like I said in Scream 2's review, still stinks they killed him. But anyway, it's kind of creepy the amount of detail that they had for the Prescott house set in this movie, which is where a really good action scene takes place. And here's where I have to get into a spoiler. Really seems like there should have been 2 killers instead of just 1. Because you have the knob twisting on the door of the bedroom set, and then about not even 10 seconds later, Ghostface pops up. So, I mean, there kind of had to be 2 Ghostfaces there, right? Now, here's the thing. I don't mind the voice changer. This is a big thing that a lot of people don't like. I don't mind that. You know, Randy says in his thing, the killer always has to be superhuman. So it kind of makes sense to give this Ghostface something that the other ones didn't have, the ability to mimic voices. Plus, I think this actually works better now because that kind of technology, not as precise as it is in Scream 3, but that technology does kind of exist. You can see people, I mean, there's the presidents playing video games stuff on the internet you can look up. They use AI replicas of their voices. I mean, that kind of technology does exist, but not in the way it does in this movie. So I don't mind that. But the house party at the end, there's 2 house parties technically. You have the rap party and then you have Roman's birthday. Speaking of which, that's actually the perfect segue into talking about this movie's killer reveal, because Ghostface is Roman Bridger this time around, yet by himself. Originally, Angelina Tyler was going to be his accomplice, and then at some point they dropped that whole thing. Which there are actually some people that think that she's still out there, that she's the only one to truly get away with everything. We'll see if that ever gets anything resolved. I think due to a lot of people not liking 3, they might not pick up on that if there is anything to pick up on. Anyway, so the whole idea behind Roman Bridger is he is the half-brother of Sidney Prescott. And you know what? I don't mind stuff like this. I don't mind family drama and things. You know, because, I mean, look at Star Wars. I mean, okay. I mean, they make comparisons to Star Wars in these movies, so I feel like I'm safe to do that. But, right, literally the series' most famous moment in Star Wars is Darth Vader saying, "No, I am your father." Okay, bad impression there, but you get the point. So, but, yeah, Roman is Sidney's half-brother, and basically, he was put up for adoption when he was a baby. He found Maureen Prescott, and she shut him out. And in response, he started being a little creepy, stalking her, found out that she was having an affair with the father of Billy Loomis, and then convinced Billy and Stu, well, not Stu, convinced Billy to go and kill Maureen. Now, a lot of people say, so he takes credit for everything. That's Sidney who says that, because Roman himself says, well, he does say, I'm a director. He says, I didn't know they were going to make a movie of their own. He had no idea the Woodsboro killings were going to happen. He thought Maureen Prescott would be one and done, and that's it. And then he desired the fame that Sidney had. And so his plan is to frame Sidney for this newest round of killings, saying, finding out what happened to her mom, and, finding out, that another movie was being made, and isolation, that all that combined just caused her to snap and caused her to go on the murder spree. But here's the thing. I think the one small change they could have done to that, to make it to where that might be a little more believable to the authorities, is to maybe say, right, stick with me here. I'm gonna suggest something they could have done in the script to make that story a little bit more believable if they wanted to. Have him try to frame Sidney, Gale, and Dewey. That way, he could easily explain Ghostface being in multiple places at once, especially the attack on Sidney, which is the one that happens at the set of the Prescott house. Now, I get that the idea behind that is to try to make Sidney look mentally unstable, but Kincaid, played by Patrick Dempsey, literally thinks Sidney is right. So, and I mean, he doesn't get killed, but he sees a Ghostface attack Sidney. So, honestly, that would have been a smarter thing for them to put in the script. But ultimately, Roman is defeated and is the only Ghostface that Dewey kills. Because while Sidney gets him to the one last scare stage, Dewey is the one who actually delivers the headshot. So yeah. But ultimately the movie ends with Gale and Dewey getting engaged, and Sidney, Gale, Dewey, and Kincaid going to watch a movie. And I made a joke saying they're probably going to watch that movie that Randy brought up during his phone call with Ghostface in Scream 2. They're probably going to watch Showgirls. But I mean, Scream 3 is really underrated, and I think it's very funny. It works as the ending to the trilogy. Probably not as well as the Stu ending, but I still think it's really underrated. And I think it's a really interesting one to watch. But scale of 1 to 10, I'll give it... one other small thing. This is honestly my biggest criticism with the movie I'm fixing to say. Sidney should have met Roman, because they don't have any interactions before the ending. So, I mean, just something simple as them bumping into each other. Maybe they finish listening to the rules, Sidney, Gale, and Dewey. They finish watching Randy's video, and Sidney accidentally bumps into Roman. It adds 5 lines to the script. That's my only issue, is the two of them should have met. So, I'm going to give Scream 3 a solid... I'm going to give it a solid 9 out of 10. It's a really good movie and the series' most underrated. Yeah, next up, they try, for the first time, to relaunch the series with Scream 4. But what are my opinions on the attempted relaunch? You'll have to find out next time. I'll see you then. Like and subscribe. Bye.